What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. We're going to continue with Grudge Match Volume 25 with two very good welterweights. Mark Breland, Brooklyn native, Bedford-Stuyvesant. Down the hallway from him was an old trainer by the name of George Washington who would take Mark Breland under his wing and introduce him to the New York City Golden Gloves, which he would win 5 times. 1982, the World Amateur Championships. In 1984, he would win the Olympic Games gold medal. But then he would be introduced to the main event with Lou Duva and a lot of his teammates from the Olympic Games, Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker, Melchick TNT Taylor, and Evander the Real Deal Holyfield. Mark Breland would win the WBA welterweight championship, and he would have to defend it against Marlon Starling, Moochie Man, the Magic Man, Hartford, Connecticut, WBA welterweight champion. He would face him August 22nd, 1987 in Columbia, South Carolina, and unfortunately for Mark Breland, he gets stretched. In the 11th round, he wasn't prepared for an aggressive and a veteran fighter by the name of Marlon Starling. I want to go through that fight with you, but I want to do it right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Outstanding fight. Salute these both fighters. Born May 11th, 1963, Brooklyn, New York, stood 6 foot 2.5 inches and weighed 145 pounds. Mark Breland would have a fighting record of 35-3-1 with 25 KOs. He would begin his professional debut after the 84 Olympics. In 1984, he would win the WBA welterweight championship with a record at that time of 20-0, 13 knockouts. He would be 23 years old when he had to face Marlon Starling, the Magic Man, a.k.a. Moochie from Hartford, Connecticut. Marlon Starling was a fantastic welterweight. He lost twice to Donald Curry and Johnny Bump City Bumpus. But Marlon Starling, the Magic Man, would be born August 29th, 1959. He stood 5 foot 8.5 inches and weighed 143 to 158 pounds. His trainer would be Eddie Futch and Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach would eventually train Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. Now Marlon Starling would win the WBA Welterweight Championship of the World, WBC Welterweight Championship of the World, NABF Welterweight Championship, as well as the USBA Welterweight Championship of the World. Marlon Starling would stretch Mark Breland. He would just flatten him right out in 11 rounds on August 22nd, 1987, Columbia, South Carolina. Now the referee that night would be Tony Perez. It would be a very hot day. Marlon Starling had the experience. He had the fighting power. What he was lacking was opportunity. And he got it that night, August 22nd, 1987. Mark Breland comes out jabbing really nice. That was the problem. He broke Marlon Starling's nose, but he couldn't sustain it. And he got tired because he was still an amateur. Didn't have the experience, didn't know how to hold, didn't know how to tie his man up. And he fell into the same trap as a stablemate of his when Mark Breland would go into the Kronk gyms with Emmanuel Stewart. He'd fall into the same trap as Thomas the Hitman Hearns with Sugar Ray Leonard. Didn't have the experience his first time out. Didn't know how to tie his man up. Got tired, opened up too early. And before you know it, he was fighting on will alone. And that will wasn't enough to keep off a tiger like Marlon Starling. So salute to Marlon Starling as he would take out Mark Breland. But a footnote to Marlon Starling. He would eventually face a fighter by the name of Tomas Molinares in Atlantic City. I was at that fight. And I'll tell you, Tomas Molinares would bang Marlon Starling after the bout, 6 rounds. And he would stretch him, causing his right leg to fracture. After he was dropped, referee was Joe Cortez, counts Marlon Starling out. Dr. Frank Duggan orders a brace for his right leg and a stretcher to carry him out of the ring. Put it on his right leg. And when Marlon Starling was interviewed by Larry Hazzard, he started out the interview stating that their legs tripped. And as the interview went on, Marlon Starling didn't remember he was in a fight. He didn't know he was knocked down. Didn't understand the reason why he was standing there in the first place. Salute to Marlon Starling. Outstanding fighter. This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fighters and all great fights will never be forgotten. Great job, Mark Breland. Great job, Marlon Starling. Look out for my next grudge match, Volume 26. Salute to my subscribers. Peace.